Okay, let's just dive right into it. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating explainer of a viral moment that perfectly pairs a tense congressional hearing with explosive internet commentary. We're looking at this incredible collision between official government testimony and raw, unfiltered online reactions. It really gives us a unique window into how complex legal and religious issues are actually digested by the internet today.
We're starting off with this pretty striking quote. The courts of the United States of America are costly and consist of ineffective lawyers. Representative Harriet Hageman read that straight from a Dallas area tribunal's mission statement, and man, it really sets the stage for the intense conflict we're about to unpack. It's a bold, confrontational claim, and the fact that it was entered directly into the congressional record immediately signals the gravity of what we're looking at.
To really make sense of this volatile source material, we're going to follow a clear roadmap: the House hearing itself, claims of parallel societies, allegations of extreme fatwas, the ensuing internet commentary, and finally, the calls for drastic action. Let's get to it.
First up, the House Judiciary hearing. So picture the scene. We aren't just in some random conversation. We are grounded in a formal, sworn government proceeding right in the House Judiciary Committee chamber. Representative Harriet Hageman, who, by the way, has 25 years of federal case experience, is questioning a researcher named Miss Meckelberg. Meckelberg claims she spent over a decade documenting religious courts operating right here within the United States. And honestly, the tension in the room is palpable right from the start.
Now, what are we actually talking about here? According to the testimony, these Sharia tribunals are fully operational religious courts inside the U.S., handling family matters and community disputes totally outside the standard judicial system. She claims they're setting precedents that they hope will eventually be emulated nationwide. It's framed as an alternative judicial system operating right in America's backyard, which is a massive claim because it strikes at the absolute core of who has legal jurisdiction in the U.S.
Moving on to our second point. Claims of parallel societies. The testimony gets even more intense as it builds on the extreme isolation of these groups. Meckelberg testified that there are fully operational parallel societies in Texas. She specifically focused on young girls, alleging they are born, raised, married, and live their entire lives within these closed communities, without ever interacting with non-Muslims or even knowing their rights as Americans. The core argument is that these individuals are effectively walled off from the outside world.
And she didn't just keep it vague. She actually went on the record to name specific names. Organizations like the Assembly of Muslim Jurists of America, the Fiqh Council of North America, and scholar Yasser Qadhi. By naming names, the testimony shifted from general warnings to very specific, targeted allegations of overarching bodies issuing legal rulings that local community judges then enforce.
Representative Hageman then points out this incredibly stark contrast. On one side, you have fundamental U.S. constitutional protections, the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 14th Amendments, public records, the right to an attorney. On the other side, according to the testimony, tribunals that operate with absolutely zero public oversight. We're talking no transcripts, no filed decisions, and no attorneys in the room to defend the accused. It paints a picture of two wildly different legal paradigms trying to coexist.
Which brings us to part 3. Allegations of extreme fatwas. Here is where things reach an absolute boiling point, the specific moment that caused the footage to go massively viral. The source defines a fatwa as a religious ruling or order from an Islamic scholar. Well, Meckelberg claimed that these US-based assemblies aren't just citing historical texts, they are actively issuing modern fatwas right now within the current decade.
And then she drops this exact, unedited quote. These are people who are putting out fatwas that you can kill apostates, blasphemers. This is happening inside America. Just wow. She is stating, under oath, that these councils are ordering the death of people who leave or insult the faith, right on American soil. That is an incredibly heavy accusation to make in a sworn proceeding.
The source video highlights this sequence, and the gravity is just immense. The explosive claim is made, but instead of erupting into chaos, the committee room goes completely dead still. Then, Hageman asks if this violates the Constitution, and the witness simply says, correct. That sheer stillness really tells you everything you need to know about the shock in that room.
Now let's pivot to Section 4, the Internet commentary.
So, we leave the clinical, quiet hearing room, and we have to ask, how did online commentators react to this viral testimony? Because as you'll see, the tone shifts drastically from sworn government testimony to rapid-fire, emotionally charged speculation. This right here shows exactly why framing and platform context matter so much. The hosts in the source video were absolutely floored. They expressed this massive shock, sharing personal anecdotes about seeing huge, multi-million-dollar Islamic centers in downtown Houston. You can see the testimony immediately triggering their own local observations, making them question what exactly is being taught inside those massive institutions.
They immediately categorized these alleged parallel societies as cults. One host said, "So if this is true, then it's just like a cult. Because imagine you have a baby in an area. You could pretty much mind control groups of people." They really latched onto this idea of a closed information loop, making swift comparisons to other isolated groups and severely raising the stakes for their audience.
And that leads us right into our final section, calls for drastic action. From here, the rhetoric just skyrockets. Impartially reporting on the source here, the hosts' reactions become highly inflammatory. They start baselessly suggesting ties to hidden foreign oil money, comparing the tribunals to sex trafficking, and even labeling the faith itself a demonic religion. They even bring up a separate viral video of a police raid in the UK to kind of justify this growing panic. The leap from a legislative hearing to worst-case scenario happens incredibly fast.
They actually went as far as demanding militarized action. Their exact words? I mean, they need to go and kick the door down to that shit. We have enough evidence for a warrant. This is on American soil. For the commentators, that one congressional hearing was literally all the proof they needed to justify bypassing standard investigations and sending authorities to physically kick down doors in Texas.
The commentary wraps up with them enthusiastically debating a permanent travel ban. One host says, "Is it a permanent Muslim ban, or is it just, I think it's a Muslim travel ban, might need to be permanent?" It's pretty wild to see the leap from watching a single government hearing to demanding sweeping, permanent national border policies in just a matter of minutes. So what are we supposed to take away from all this? Ultimately, this explainer leaves us with a really deep, unresolved tension. How do modern democracies balance the absolute promise of religious freedom with the strict enforcement of constitutional rights? It is a fiercely delicate boundary. And watching how quickly a silent congressional chamber can spark calls for militant action online, well, it really shows why understanding our media landscape is absolutely crucial today. Thanks for exploring this with me, and keep asking the hard questions.